You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
You know I blame it on industry. I blame it on my own hypocrisy. It's education and politicians. No one's willing to step up and speak.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pace Radio Show as we are being broadcasted live here on the Pace Facebook and YouTube pages. I'm your host, Al Graham, and hello, Kim. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Al. I'm doing good here in the frozen north that's starting to thaw.
Starting to thaw. Uh-oh. Does starting to thaw mean that you're also maybe getting a little bit flooded?
Yeah. Lots of really, really heavy, wet snow. Lots of water underneath. Yeah, it's been a really wet day.
And more to come.
More to come.
Yeah, like I
More to
know
come.
here, it was like 8 degrees. It's raining now. It's going to rain all night. It's going to rain tomorrow through all day long. And then they're talking about snow kicks in tomorrow around dinner time. And they're talking about 20 centimeters of snow over the next 12 hours after that. Like,
Yeah, it's going to get crazy. It's
Yeah.
going to get crazy. We had rain all day today. We had snow last night, rain all day today, and now we're going back to snow tonight. So it's going to freeze all of that wonderful water, and we'll have a skating rink.
yeah. Oh, I imagine. Well, hey, just as long as your septic tank doesn't float out into your front yard.
We don't need that again.
No.
Once in a
No.
lifetime is enough for that.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's not something you want to do. So tonight, normally we would have a news article, but Kim's internet isn't being super cooperative tonight. But
Yeah.
so we figured, well, instead of digging up a news item, we'd have a guest that is in the news.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, everything that is going on with this gentleman is beyond belief, mind blowing to say the least. Of course, we're talking about our guest tonight, Mr. Ted Smith, and he's been at the forefront of the movement in his region out in BC. And the things that he's done is phenomenal. And the pushback that he's receiving, I have no words. I mean, we have to just dive in with him.
Yeah, exactly. So why don't we just do that? Why don't we bring Ted into the show and say,
Absolutely.
Welcome, Ted Smith, to the Pace Radio Show. How are you doing tonight?
I'm actually doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Hey, well, we really appreciate you coming on the broadcast and updating us on the situation going on out there at the VCBC. We had you here on the network back when we were audio only. That was back in July. And you updated us on the situation, the raids and all that at that point. But I'm sure maybe Kim might want you to maybe do a quick review on that before we get into the stuff that's going on in the news today.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us an update of what started all this. You guys got raided back last summer, and of course, you're a well-established compassion club. For the listeners out there that maybe aren't familiar with our story, let's start there. Give us a bit of history on how you got to where we're at today.
Okay, well, the recent history was raids in November of 2019 was the first one, followed by a second raid in July of 2020. So it's been well over a year and a half since the last raid, and in the meantime, they did threaten our landlord, but thankfully our landlord's lawyers decided to throw their hat in with us, I guess, as it were. But more recently, we've received fines, both the society and myself, from the Community Safety Unit, which is the province's enforcement branch of the Cannabis Secretariat. And we expected those fines, but we had actually thought that they'd passed their statute of limitations for doing it. But they seem to think that they can go ahead anyway. They don't really seem to have to answer to anybody, I guess. So
Yeah, they just disregard the law whenever it suits their needs, it seems, right? Now, the fines that you got. The fines that you got. My God, I read that and I was, no way. I'm blown away.
as
What did
far
they
as I
give you
can
for
tell,
fines?
these are the largest cannabis-related fines for anyone ever, like anywhere. And certainly, you know, in BC and Canada, but I think anywhere in the world. And it really is something that have some friends looking into other comparative fines from situations where companies have been, you know, criminally negligent, and people have died, and environmental disasters and stuff. Because, you know, in many cases where that's happened, the fines haven't even been this dramatic. So it really is extreme, the amount that they're going after here. But in a way, it doesn't matter how big the number was. They're not getting a penny. We're just gonna fight. So
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, um, the fines that you got, $6.5 million.
that's the total.
Million.
Yeah.
That's the
So what
total
they
between.
what they did was they added up the value of the first raid, and then they added that to the value of what they seized in the second raid. And then they actually used our computer programs to figure out how much we sold in between. So they put that all together to come up with 1.6 million or so. And so they doubled that to come up with a $3.2 million fine, which they've given to the nonprofit society, which I'm one of the board members of. And then the administrator, Jamie Lip, decided to double down on me, and I got my own $3.2 million fine because I'm special like that, right?
Oh my.
Wow. Wow. I
No.
mean, that's astronomical. You mentioned a couple of things there when you were discussing, you know, other comparables. You know, I mean, we've got companies in that are legal LPs in this country that have been fined and sued for poisoning patients. We've got companies that are legal LPs in this country that are still currently legal LPs that have been brought to task by environmental boards and been fined for poisoning our water and our air with emissions and ill-controlled systems. This is happening currently since legalization in this country, and they never got a fine of $6 million.
Oh, they turned around and sold illegal cannabis. Some of them.
Yeah. I mean, they exported it to the Netherlands and it
Yeah.
was illegal cannabis, you know, with
And
misrepresented billing and way bills and outright
well,
lying about exportation, poisoning patients, poisoning our environment, illegal exports. And these are all from legal companies, yet they never saw this kind of dollar amount on their fines when brought to task by the regulatory boards. But they're
Yeah,
going
well,
after a
they're
compassion club?
you know they're trying to make an example out of me for these companies that have been trying to comply with all these ridiculous regulations and red tape, because these companies, big and small, are all struggling to make a profit, and they're screaming that the authorities need to do things about places like us, when in fact it's the regulations and red tape that are the problem. And if they didn't exist, then we'd have no reason to continue to fight ourselves, and there wouldn't be such a disparity between what's legally available and the prices and quality of what's available in the black market. And so, it's the regulations and red tape are the problem. That's what, we've been saying all along, why we can't comply. And it's just really sad that they think, making an example out of a club that cares more about patients than profit is what they need to do in order to pound their chest and make it look like they're being, tough on the black market. When the fact is that none of them really give a rat's ass about patients. It's just about the money.
You had, when we talked to you back in July, you mentioned you had like some support by different levels of government, or people within the
government.
Huh?
Politically, we have support from every level of government.
Yeah, and then and they come after you in this manner with these.
It's the bureaucracy that we've been up against here. Really from the beginning. Like even these regulations weren't created by politicians. They were written up by a bunch of conservative bureaucrats, and they told the politicians that they had no choice but to implement something that was so restrictive. And so it's just been bulldozed through by this heavy-handed bureaucracy that doesn't have to answer to no one. Like, it's like fighting this faceless monster, because no one within the Solicitor General's office will, even discuss this with a person in the media. They all just cite, we can't talk about individual cases, and let alone like give me an opportunity to debate someone in the ministry about why we can't comply and what the real problems are. The only way we're going to get to do that is in court, which is really sad.
Now, was there a procedure or options, like these raids all happened before they got to this point? That was there something that they I don't know, I guess allow you to speak on your behalf before they even got it? Is there even a way to appeal something like this?
So far, there hasn't been, right? Like they didn't even have to get a warrant to raid us as long as they didn't touch the money, right? And it's been quite frustrating not to have that. We could have filed an application into the federal court previous to this. I did consider it with our other law firm, but we never took that route in the hope that it wouldn't happen. And when we started to pass this, what we thought were the statute of limitations, it's like, okay, well maybe they are gonna back off us, but certainly that's not the case. They seem to be escalating things.
There's so many things. There's so many things in that statement that you just made. There's so many things. I mean, okay, they don't need a warrant. Since when in Canada don't you need a warrant for something if it's law enforcement? I mean, that whole thing is just ridiculous. This CSU, Community Safety Unit, it's got nothing to do with safety whatsoever. And they seem to have almost unmitigated powers to do whatever the hell they want to do. I mean, the whole thing is just ridiculous. And then enforcement of issuing fines and coming at you again when indeed it is past the statute of limitations, and they don't seem to care about that either. How can this be happening in Canada? Where's rule of law?
Well, that's why we're taking them to court, because that seems to be the only place you can find.
So do you have to turn around, being that they issued these fines and there doesn't seem to be a way to appeal them? And when you got raided, I'm assuming you were never charged for them. What do you have to do?
There is a way to appeal the fine.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, but it's to the Cannabis Secretariat, so we go to the same people that made the decision.
Okay.
So that's handy. But what we're going to be doing is filing some applications in court, very similar to the Allard injunction and constitutional challenge. So we need to put in 2 applications.
Cool.
One, which will be the constitutional challenge, which will be based on 2 sort of counts. One being access, in that Health Canada doesn't, really allow for medical marijuana storefronts, which is ridiculous. There should be, pharmacy storefront types, specializing in medical across the country for patients to go into. And the other one is the THC limits, which is like part 2 of the Smith decision, really. And so, we're going to be filing that, but it takes a long time for the case to happen after you filed. So in the meantime, we're going to have to throw an injunction in there and hope that we win that and keep them off our back until the conclusion of the trial.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. The storefront and the lack of access for patient, that's been the biggest thorn in my side, particularly. That's been the thing that I've been pounding since legalization. And I've been saying that since the day we became legal here in Canada. It's come on the backs of patients. I mean, we're only here because of the patient push for the use of free use of natural therapy is what got us to legalization. And since it's come, there's been no advancements for patients. And if anything, patients have had stuff pedaled backwards. Rights that we used to have disappeared. And it's really infuriating as a patient to see the lack of interest in my medical needs from this plan that we've got in action.
It's been terrible, really, because certainly legalization wouldn't be here without patients and their caregivers and clubs like ours fighting for them. And the Smith decision to force Health Canada to sell edibles and extracts was really the final straw in recreational prohibition as well, because the absurdity of the laws was very clear. But what also happened at that point was Bay Street in Toronto just turned on a green light and said, hey, we could be making big money off this. This is the next big thing. And they wanted full control of it. And so they pressured very heavily for this regulated industry that we have to try and just destroy the existing cannabis movement. And what that meant was, in particular in BC, but also in Ontario, where there were a lot of dispensaries opened up in towns everywhere, it took away a lot of products that were very high quality and low priced from patients. And for the first year of legalization, they couldn't even buy an edible or extract. And even now that they can, it's very low quality, low THC, high price, and nothing comparable to what was available very easily in dispensaries a few years ago. And now we're seeing an escalating opioid crisis that has been exacerbated by the way that cannabis has been legalized, because they've taken away the best tool in the toolbox for fighting the opioid crisis, and we'll give it the time of day.
In the one article that I read, you're quoted in there talking about the price of cookies. And the fact that you could get a 75 milligram cookie through the Compassion Club for $2.50, but yet to go to a legal licensed store where patients do go to, according to the National Cannabis Survey, they said about 53% of the people who go to those stores go for medical reasons. There's yet Health Canada tells the press and yourselves and everybody else that the storefronts aren't medical purposes. But
right.
Yeah.
And the people that work in them can't even answer questions about the medical properties of what they're selling.
Exactly. It's
absurd.
I like to use tea I like to use
The-
tea as my example because when I start my morning, I start my day with a cup of infused tea. I won't use the brand name that's out there. It's a legacy market brand that's been around for a very, very long time. And infused tea is what I start my day with. And my particular brand is 60 milligrams per bag. So I have a 60 milligram tea for breakfast. If I was to go to a legal store to get us to replace or substitute my current place of shopping. If I do that in a legal store, I would have to use either 6 cups of tea or 6 tea bags in 1 cup of tea. And that would cost me well over $75 for my morning tea.
Yeah.
yeah, no,
How is that sustainable
Yeah.
as a
No,
patient?
they just, it's all about the money, unfortunately.
it's not. And out of this challenge, could there come something like improving that for patients?
We see, the result of our, even, I don't even think we have to get to the full constitutional hearing. If we win the injunction, and we're being given a hearing on whether or not Health Canada should allow storefront medical and higher THC content. There's a lot of pressure on them to do that anyway, from
Yes,
Shoppers Drug Mart wanting them, to be able to have those types of stores, to
lobby groups.
LPs and patients. Like, we're not the only ones. We just got a big mouth here. And so we're really hoping that we can put
Nothing wrong with that.
enough pressure on them that by the time we even go to court, they're doing what we've been demanding all along, because it only makes sense to progress in this direction here. And so when they have medical marijuana storefronts for patients to walk into with high THC products, like, we don't got much of a leg to stand on here, and I'd be happy to let the government and the legal system do better, and then we can, shut this operation down and try and transition into it. But we're not just going to leave patients, hanging in this system scheme in the meantime. So,
Could there be a system where within a storefront, in a recreational storefront, sort of like I'm thinking of a drugstore. You go into a drugstore, you can go in the drugstore and you can buy birthday cards, you can buy lottery tickets, so on and so forth. And then you can go to the back counter and you can pick up your prescription. Why couldn't they do that inside a cannabis store and have people like yourselves in there, dealing with patients or people who are coming into there looking for medical strength cannabis as far as higher milligrammage and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we really have to see that. Like you say, over half the people that are going into these legal stores need it for medical purposes, but they're not getting, the information and products that they need.
Exactly.
And so, that's
They
not
can't
good
talk
enough.
to them.
We can do better.
Yeah.
Right. Just because,
Yeah.
the government thinks that meeting the bare minimum is good enough doesn't mean that's good enough for everybody else. Not good enough for me.
And we've seen that all the way along, Ted, in these fights for the courts. Every time that they lose, they change things to just the bare minimum. Like when it came to the number of growers in locations, the number of people that you could grow for, so on and so forth, they change it by 1 instead of making something that's worthwhile to change.
Yeah.
Oh, we increased it. Look, how many did you increase it? You increased it by 1. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Big difference, right?
Yeah, it's been very frustrating to see their incremental changes.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Like, I know
And every one that they've done, they were forced into. through the courts and through people like yourself and patients taking the government to court saying, hell no. They wouldn't have changed anything if it weren't for the push forward from the legacy community.
Yeah.
I know, exactly.
It's been a very difficult time
It's been very
getting us
frustrating.
to the point that we're at, and it's people like yourself, Ted, that got us here. You spoke a little bit about the Smith extract trial, and of course that was Owen Smith, and he was when that went down, he was making cookies for the club. So you've been in this from the beginning.
It's been an amazing journey to have, stuck my neck out and stood my ground and been able to, see and make so many changes. And that's partly why now I feel like, if anyone can stand up and make a difference here, it's going to be me. So here we go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well,
And absolutely. And I know that you've got that drive, and we're thankful for it. Yes.
But that doesn't. Well, we got a few more minutes left before we get. I'll wait till after the break before I get into that.
Yeah.
That end of things.
Yeah.
Now, what about
big one?
now? As far as they never seem to think about the patients. There was a movie I watched years ago, and I can't even think of what it's called now. I saw it online, and during the movie, after a raid, the question was, what about the patients? Those people that go in there, you guys got that support from all levels of government, and they know what you're doing. They know you're dealing with patients, but yet that's just all thrown off to the side, and nobody ever thinks about the end result. They'll turn around and say, well, they can go to the legal system, go to the doctors, and order from the LP. But financial reasons, costs. We've discussed that. And
it's not possible for the amount of some of our prescriptions. There's no way I could get this through legal means.
No. It's really cruel the way they've gone about it.
Yeah, it is. And sending people, because as we've experienced, I'm sure all of us have experienced when dealing with patients. There's some that won't go to their doctor because they don't feel that the doctor is going to be supportive just from the words that they say. So they're going to go into the store and cross their fingers that they do something right and don't make a mistake.
We get lots of cancer patients and elderly people that join our club here, and they're just completely overwhelmed at how to understand how to use this medicine, and to force them to do stuff online is really ridiculous. It's like I say, to the elderly, to people that are mentally not well, people with severe anxiety and such. There's nothing more welcoming than a club like ours that makes them feel comfortable to ask questions and experiment with this plant medicine in a way that really benefits them. But it is an experiment in a sense with the different medicines and things, and it takes time to talk with them as they're dealing with that. And these stores don't have that connection at all. They don't know what the person purchased last time to help them make sure that they get the same type of medicine, or and people come in here, and typically our staff not only know their names, but I don't even know how, but they remember half their membership numbers too. And it's like, hi Larry, how's it going today? And there's a real caring relationship that's created in that type of environment that is not allowed in any way, shape, or form in the legal recreational one.
Well, not only that, like you talked about, you can talk to the people about the medical end of the cannabis and how it can help them and guide them through things. But you also had a lounge, which I would assume would also give you the opportunity to maybe go into the lounge with the patient, and especially somebody who's new at it, and actually be there physically with them and guide them through that, so they know what they're experiencing instead of being concerned or scared.
Yeah, I'm actually sitting in our lounge right now because COVID's made us shut it down, and we cannot wait to get it back open again. I tell you that because it's a huge part of the members' lives. Many of them, are isolated and don't have a lot of friends and family, except this place is their friends and family. And it's been really hard on many of us not having this space. But you're right, like there is great medical value. We could come in and teach people how to use the medicine, how to roll a joint, and how to use the vaporizer. We'd have a volcano vaporizer here and a dab rig for people, so we could show them all the different ways that they would want to consume cannabis. And a lot of people can't afford proper dab rigs and vaporizer and stuff, so it really was of great benefit to patients to have access to that. And right now, in fact, we're actually doing a study on our members using this space. We have a researcher up at the University of Victoria who works with the Canadian Centre for Substance Use, and she's been putting this together with us for a while, and so we're really looking forward to having the information come out about the various medical and economic and social benefits that come from having a space like this for patients. And in BC here, we're sort of getting ready with the province is going to do a consultation about allowing consumption sites in very limited situations. And so we want to have our study ready because we want to push further than that, because all they're thinking about is making money in commercial spaces. And what we want to be able to prove with some evidence is that when you give patients a free space that is a patient-oriented medical space, you will have significant health improvements and benefits that would make it so that the government should be putting in consumption sites in all the hospitals and all the old age homes and all the long-term care facilities. In fact, we work quite a bit with one of the long-term care facilities in town where like most of the clients or patients there are so disabled that the nurses actually have to buy their joints and stuff for them. And so we're really hoping to get them to be a pilot project for this once our study comes out and we can push for it to get to that next level.
Very nice. Very nice.
Fantastic.
That would be great to get to that point. Well, it is break time. Time for us to pay some bills. All right. Kim and I will continue our talk with our guest, Ted Smith, when we get back. This is the Pace Radio Show. We are live here on the Pace Facebook and YouTube pages. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com, or contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
Did you know that the Pace Radio Network isn't just a radio network? That's right, because most, but not all of our programming is now done via video and is then podcasted at paceradio.net. So if you want to watch, yes, watch our programming, you'll find us on the Pace Radio Network's Facebook page, plus the show's own page, and you'll find us live on the network's YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can find it all, video and audio, at paceradio.net.
BMA Hydroponics has everything you need to succeed. Visit our hydroponics superstore at 404 Maitland Drive in Belleville and we'll show you how to grow your own quality cannabis for pennies per gram. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Thursdays and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Call 613-967-9888. BMA Hydroponics. It's worth the drive.
The only way to go.
Hi folks, Scott from stfattiesday.com here, and we're absolutely stoked to tell you about our brand new program called Pass the Peace Pipe and our partnership with Legacy 420 out of Tyndonega. We are absolutely proud to be partners with these people. They are an amazing group that have helped so many people with their amazing cannabis medicinal products. And we are working together to gather funds to build the first ever Indigenous specific opioid addiction center here in the Bay of Quinte area on Tyndonega land. So we need your help. We need you to repost this video and go to our GoFundMe campaign, because on this October 17th, St. Fatty's Day, we are going to be starting the campaign where we pass the peace pipe from one side of the country to another to unite our country, to gather awareness, but most importantly funds to build opioid addiction centers across the nation, one build at a time.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Hey, we're back. We're the Pace Radio Show, and we're live here on our Facebook and YouTube pages. Plus, we're podcasted afterwards at paceradio.net in both audio and video, Kim.
Yes, we are now on video. That took a while to get the Pace Radio Show up and running on the video podcast. We've been radio for a long time, over a decade on the air, on the radio. Since the rest of the station got pushed over to video, took a while to push Al down the track into the video end of the Pace Radio Show, but we're here now.
We're here. You know, dinosaurs can learn new tricks. Come on, you know. Easy on me now.
Just keep chipping away. I
Yeah,
feel like
that's
a
right.
sculptor, you know. I just keep chipping away.
All righty. Well, enough on me. Let's get back to our guest, and that is Mr. Ted Smith. Ted,
Yeah.
before the break, we were talking about a bunch of different things. At the end of the commercial break, there was a thing there on opiate healing centers for down in Tyndonega. They have a GoFundMe page, so they're trying to raise money to help with that. From what I've seen lately, I believe that you've got something that you're trying to do as far as fundraising to deal with this next court challenge.
Yeah, we're still putting some of the final pieces together, but right now, checks either directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation, or we'll take e-transfers, or people can come by with cash. I'm trying to set up a Bitcoin bank for people to put money into that. And then we'll have posters with all the information on it, but we're just kind of not quite there yet.
Yeah, well, as you know,
Jack Lloyd Law Firm Corporation. Jack Lloyd, man. I
That's
love
right.
it that you've gone with Jack. Jack is fantastic. I'm so pleased to hear that you've gone with Jack for this challenge. Now, these challenges, as you're no stranger to, because the VCPC, of course, went through this once already with the Owen Smith trial, and that went all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. These things are expensive, man. It's
Yeah,
not cheap to do this.
and we expect to be putting in a lot more expert testimony in this one, which is not cheap either. So, we set a goal of raising $50,000, and the club does have some assets that we can sell off here. But the less that the club has to sell off, the better, really, because ultimately that's the patient's money, and we're trying to keep our prices as low as possible and keep everything else going as well. So we're gonna hopefully get a bunch of money out of the club, but we've been very fortunate to have gotten a really good jump start on our fundraising. In large part because myself and a few other two other key members of the society have given a substantial amount. So between the three of us, we've kicked in 20 grand, and other than that, it's been piling up every day. I think we're up over 28 grand in total now.
Nice. That
Nice.
that would
Well, it's a
be,
good little jump start to get the fun going.
yes, and that would help get things started, because obviously the further it goes in through the system, the higher you go up in the courts, fundraising would have to continue, because I would think, from based on on the last case, $50,000 isn't going to get you to the end.
No,
It's not going to cut it.
but it's going to be interesting to see how it works out, and scary too, because it'll really depend on whether we get this injunction here in a couple months. Because if we get the injunction, then we can save up for the big trial, and it'll be an expensive, long, drawn-out thing. But honestly, if we lose this injunction and the government gets a green light to come crashing down on our heads, it's going to be a really scary time. And who knows all the things we're going to have to deal with, and if we lose the injunction, then it would be doubtful we would win the constitutional trial at the end of it anyway, if the courts are being that difficult. So it really does kind of hinge on winning at this stage here, at which point if we win that and win the first round of court, that could be the end of it. That's what happened in Allard, right? They never challenged it, but it could go to a court of appeal and higher up, we wouldn't, if we're winning and they're appealing, it costs less. But again, if we're losing, then it's a really dark situation.
We got our fingers crossed that you get this injunction, because, like, as you said, that's your main focus right now, is get that injunction. Everything else behind that doesn't matter until you get to that point.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
because it's
And you guys have seen both sides of this, right? I mean, we've seen it in the community with Allard, as you said. It was, okay, they were on the losing end, so they kind of went, okay, I'm just going to leave this alone. And Allard just sat there without being appealed. But then with Smith, they fought that tooth and nail, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. So, I mean, we really don't know what the hell they're going to do, because they've done both.
Yeah, and I really see them caving on these 2 points from like I say, from a lot of different pressure being put on them, and so it could be interesting if we win the injunction. We may never even have to get to the constitutional trial if they've ended up changing the rules by then anyway. Then that's basically a concession that we were right in the first place. and that we better get our act together because the rules have changed and the goalposts have changed again then.
Yes,
And that's the
yes.
ultimate goal, right? Is to
Yeah.
get the laws changed, to get the rules changed, to make this an equal playing field for both patients as well as non-patient use, and both for corporate as well as private industry to be able to gain some traction in this space.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is patient access and patient care. And if the government can do as good or better, then that's awesome. We'll pack up and look at our options from there. But we're not quite there yet with a few really important points. So yeah, it's something that again I see it happening in court, but once they lose and it really becomes clear through our case and advocacy just how poorly thought out this medical marijuana program has been, and they make some big changes, then like I say, we don't have much of a leg to stand on for remaining illegal. And so there's a lot of questions about our future, but yeah, for now we've just gotta dig our heels in and fight.
It would be nice if some of those levels of government stepped in here and threw some support behind you as you go into this journey.
Yeah, it's been strange because the politicians at every level of government around us are fully supportive of us. Even the ones that are in the provincial cabinet really are strong supporters, but they're helpless to this, it seems. The bureaucracy is really driving.
Why don't they speak up? Are they afraid to speak up? Do they? I don't understand why the lack of support on a public level.
The one senior cabinet minister, Murray Rankin, explained it to me in that the BC cabinet, especially right now with what's all been happening with COVID, they don't want to stand up to the federal Liberal Party and tell them that they've made mistakes on this file, because they want to have the federal government cooperating with them. And so because they've made that political decision, they're not going to stand up and fight for a few thousand patients or whatever, even though this is much bigger than that, and the opioid crisis should call for extreme measures in the proactive sense here. But they just don't have the nerve to stand up to the federal Liberal Party here. And Mike Farnworth and his little batch of cops he's got working for him, they're just a bunch of bullies, right? So it's really hard to stand up to that kind of bully-like attitude. And it's so
is there a way? This is just something I just thought of here as you were talking. When they have there's Insight and there's other safe injection sites across the country. That is to help that, and that helps brings people in, get some medical attention, and helps and to help the person themselves. Could a place like yourselves not be something that's there to help patients? It gives them medical knowledge. It gives them safe access. Could that be something along, instead of dealing with it as for hard drugs, deal it as cannabis as a benefit to the person?
Yeah,
the same premise as the safe injection site.
To get even stranger, there's another program here in town called Solid. That stands for the Society of Living Intravenous Drug Users. Solid is giving away a joint a day and I think now a gummy a day to people that come there. And the local health authority and federal government and Health Canada are studying this and aware of this and helping them and even subsidizing it apparently. At the same time, they got their own little store going on. They're not even doing GST or nothing like we are. They're just selling pot left, right, and center out of this store, and the
And being
government,
funded.
the local health authorities are turning a blind eye to it because they just say that they're giving it away free or at cost, and so somehow that's different than us. And while we're being raided and fined, they're being subsidized for doing the very same thing, except they turn aside cancer patients.
How can
You
they
can't be a
say?
cancer patient, but you can be an intravenous drug user, and that's okay.
Yeah, and then
The
to top
government
it
will
all
help
off,
them.
you got provincial health authorities that are, talking about creating a heroin compassion club modeled after the medical cannabis compassion clubs, because they realize the war on drugs is a failure and that's a step to take. But they don't even seem to understand that they're shutting down the medical compassion clubs that they're saying are such a vital part of harm reduction.
Yeah. Well, they did that when we legalized cannabis.
So
as Kim said, there's lots of things that we
Doesn't make any
lost.
sense.
No, it's all been very frustrating.
That's why
none of this makes any sense.
Yeah, that's a good reason why we use the Killing Time Band's theme song. It doesn't make sense for our show.
It doesn't make sense, Legalization was supposed to fix the confusion, and all it did was muddy the water. We had a clear stream running in the cannabis community for 2 decades, where people, industry was developing, entrepreneurs were working, shops were open, bakers were baking, candy makers were making. It was a vibrant, lucrative community. People were paying their taxes. Storefronts were being operated, vapor lounges were open.
Conventions were
all of
happening.
this, compassion centers were open. Conventions were going on. We're filling up the trade center with people. We're operating vapor lounges inside the trade center. It was a huge, vibrant community, and they tore it down with ambitions to build something in their own image, and they've just destroyed the whole fucking thing.
There's when I think back, when you talk about conventions, the Treating Yourself Expo back there before we were even talking about legalization, and how it was run by patients for patients and had all kinds of information and stuff there for the patients. We had plants right there on the floor. Well, they still have a convention in the same place. It's completely different.
Yeah,
it's not
Like
it was.
Lyft is not what TY was. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's run differently. Like you said, it was all things were changed when legalization came in.
Well, it's corporate now.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate.
It's corporate now.
Yeah, but we need to get them.
I go to Lyft. The last time I went to Lyft, you couldn't tell the difference between the Lyft convention and the mining convention that I go to with my husband. They were the same. Instead of having drill bits on the table, there was information pamphlets on your local LP. But other than that, it was the same. It's no longer the conventions that we had. It's absolutely 100% corporate.
Now, was there any time where, I don't know, like if you if you win this injunction, do you think something like that would be based on where you got your supply? Would anything like that, like, would they force you to go to a licensed producers as far as supplying the
Yeah.
cannabis for your patients, or
Not the injunction itself. No, the injunction
Okay.
would be a suspension of punitive measures.
right. Okay.
And just basically, telling the government that things have to remain as is until the outcome.
Yeah.
And so,
I guess I'm looking way down the line.
really, the courts struggle with having the power to do anything, to force the government to do anything. They can only tell the government when they've stepped across the line. And so it's a bit of back and forth, between the two.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well,
So
I
expect them
yeah.
to, eventually, because the courts have told them time and time again how valuable, storefronts are, medical storefronts. It was in the Allard decision. It's been in a bunch of other ones. And so, the courts have made it very clear how important accessibility to medical cannabis is. But Health Canada just keeps ignoring that. It's been quite frustrating.
Yeah, well, the Parker
Yeah,
decision,
it's been
that
the
was
same line from the beginning, right? Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, from Parker to Hitzig to Allard to Smith, this has been the usual theme from every judge along the way. That community-based storefronts, patient access, and patient services. This has been the trend. This has been the theme in every decision and every commentary given by the judges along the way. But the government just doesn't seem to give a shit. We even seen it with the fact finding tour, the roundtables that they were doing pre-legalization. They went across the country and they were going to talk to everybody, and they did that. And they said, the government's going to put this thing out, and then we're going to take into consideration the recommendations of the task force pre-legalization. And the task force recommendations were actually quite reasonable, and we were all quite excited and by them because they included vapor lounges, they included patient care, they included the community. And the government took that document and kind of went, "Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay, file that under G for garbage, and we're going to do this instead," and just tossed most of it away. And it's mind-boggling to me. That they don't listen. I mean, I look at it as raising my kids. Al, you know what it's like raising kids. You tell your kid the same thing over and over and over again, and they don't listen. Well, there's consequences to that. Where are the government's consequences?
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a cat that doesn't listen in the morning.
It's amazing.
It's got consequences. It gets me up friggin' early. I'll tell you.
There's always consequences, but there
Exactly.
isn't here, right?
Yeah.
So it's mind-boggling, that there are no consequences. And every judge and every judgment has said the same thing along the way, that this is needed.
Well, see, that would be that, we talked earlier. We talked earlier about how things have always been a little step at a time. They won't do anything huge, a big gigantic step at once. It's always little increments. And unfortunately, maybe that's what we got to do. Fight it right on each little increment till we get to where we need to do it. But it's unfortunate that it's the patients that are dealing with that fight. Like, I know there's some lobby stuff going on out there.
Yeah,
but
every baby step.
Yeah. It's just sometimes it gets frustrating.
Yeah, every baby step is a court case, though, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it shouldn't take that. Shouldn't take that. Like, just all they gotta do is
No.
open their eyes and see.
No.
It's
Yeah.
it's not right.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
we
how
say
long
break.
has the VCBC been operating, Ted?
We've been
Sorry,
open
I just let before we go to
January
break. How long?
since January 1996. So just over 26 years now.
26 years. Yeah. And
26 years.
Yeah, we
You know,
just
26
started
years of
setting
helping
up.
patients.
We're over 8,500 patients, I guess.
8,500 patients, 26 years, support of the community, and levels of government. So obviously, you haven't been detrimental to the community where you are. It's just
The building didn't even know he was there.
they didn't know he was there. Like, yeah, it's not right.
I love that story.
All right,
We'll tell that story when we come back from break.
Yes, sounds good. All right, off we go to that commercial break. All right, and we'll be back shortly. You're watching or listening to the Pace Radio Show. We are live here at our Facebook and YouTube pages.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Growing your own vegetables, flowers, or even medicinal plants can be a challenge without the right equipment and proper know-how. At BMA Hydroponics, not only are they your urban horticultural experts and suppliers, but their staff holds the customer's needs paramount to making a sale. Family-owned with decades of experience and knowledge, they offer free advice in person, by phone, or email. BMA Hydroponics wants to ensure you have the advice you need, which is why you'll find tips and tricks on different ways to grow, like wick, ebb and flow, drip, or aeroponic system, as well as other helpful links at bmahydroponics.com. If you can't find what you're looking for, just let them know, and they'll do everything they can to get what you're looking for. At BMA Hydroponics, each staff member also possesses a federal exemptee MMAR license, making their strong suit empathy, experience, and dedication to their customers. Because when you know how to grow, you'll have results that make you proud. BMA Hydroponics in Belleville, Ontario. Visit bmahydroponics.com.
CP operates a medicinal cannabis signing clinic. If you want to grow your own medicinal cannabis and are located anywhere in Canada, then I'd like to suggest that you give them a call. They can be reached at 1-613-967-9888. That's 1-613-967-9888. And grow on with CP.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
A doctor's job is to relieve your pains. And when it comes to growing cannabis, the biggest pain is trimming. Let Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions take the pain away. Whether you're a home grower or a commercial operation, we have the cure. From 4 plants to 400 plants, garden size doesn't matter. Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions comes to you with years of experience and professional discreet service. It's simple. We trim your weed and we do a damn good job. Visit drbuckcts.com to book your trimming.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
The People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network, found at paceradio.net, provides its listeners with news, information, and a place to be heard. This is done through our 5 weekly live video and audio broadcasts that cover cannabis and psychedelic news, plus those we interview. We get started Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern with the Reefer Reporters. Then at 9 p.m. we are live with Canada Quebec. Tuesday brings you Open Your Eye or the Psychedelic Reporters at 7 p.m. Wednesday at 8, we are live with the Pace Radio Show, but we're not done yet, because on Thursday, the Reefer Reporters return with another Reefer Report. Meanwhile, once a month, Thursdays bring you the Grassroots Advocate, the Pace Radio Network's audio magazine. All these shows, plus more, are found right here on paceradio.net.
At Legacy 420, we believe in being different.
Experience the difference of quality control.
Our labs provide tested formulations for all of our products.
Experience the difference in trust.
Our customers can trust that we are following up-to-date COVID precautions for their safety.
Experience the difference in accessibility.
We're open 7 days a week. Please visit our website, legacy420.com. Contact us for curbside pickup as well as nationwide mail order shipping.
Legacy 420 values overall wellness.
Come and experience the difference of Legacy 420.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for tuning into the program. We are live as always. Tonight we're on the Pace Radio Show Facebook page, as well as the network's Facebook page, as well as on YouTube. And don't forget, podcast at paceradio.net. Well, Kim, we've got quite the interesting guest who's been battling the courts, and I think we should bring him back in. We continue our conversation, right?
Absolutely.
There he is.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. Ted looked like he was having a very exciting time during our commercial break, bouncing around and laughing and enjoying himself over there.
Something tells me he's not. Something tells me he's not alone there tonight.
No, he's not. He's definitely not. He's definitely not.
No, that's good. Okay, now before the break, Kim, you were mentioning about a past story that Ted had told us on the earlier broadcast with him. Would you like to line that up?
On another, he's been on with us several times. Yeah, he's been on with us several times over the years through some of the trials and tribulations that's gone on at the VCBC. Fighting the good fight, Ted Smith always is. The one story that really resonates with me, I think the most out of all of the stuff that we've discussed over the years, is when legalization came in and your building, you put your sign up for your vapor lounge. And I guess residents of the building started losing their minds thinking a new vapor lounge was coming in. And it was found out that you had already been in existence for quite some time. Tell us about that. That's my favorite story.
Okay, well, a few years ago, before legalization, the city started licensing dispensaries, here in Vancouver and a few other places. And to do that, we had to go through a rezoning hearing. And that's a public process. So we had to put up a sign outside that had the date and information about the public hearing. And around the same time, we decided to put up our name out front and go public. It seemed like things were changing in a good direction. And so when we went to the hearing at City Hall, there were a lot of people that live in the condo next door really upset, and they'd written letters and wanted the council to not allow it, because the council had already been had already passed a license across the street that was applied for by a company that was ahead of us, that had a lot of money sitting around to apply for a license while we were scrambling to get our application in. So they beat us to the mark, and the neighbors were complaining that they had a safe injection drug site on one side and a legal, or at least at the time, a licensed cannabis store across the street. And they're like, we don't need another pot store beside us here. That's just, saturating the area. And so I got to, tell them in front of council that, in fact, we had been in that storefront, before their building was even built. And that we not only sold cannabis there, that we had a lounge where people were constantly smoking cannabis. And that the fact that they had no idea that we had a lounge, and been operating the whole time, just indicated how little public impact that we'd had, that they had no clue that we were even there. And so that really,
Yeah.
was a telling sign for how good of neighbors we are, and we've become friends with many of them, and a few have signed up here at the club since too.
That's amazing to me. I love it. They're
Exactly.
complaining, and it's like, no, we can't have this here. There's too much, and it's like, hey guys, we've been here for like 20 years before you got here. Hi, and
Hi.
they're like, what? You've been here the whole time? What are you talking about? How did I not know this? Well, you didn't know this because we run a respectable club. That's how you did not know this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. And that speaks volumes right there. I mean, I love that. I love that. They're complaining about you opening and you've been in operation for 20 years. I mean, that's perfect.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, another thing I want to touch on tonight was not only are you respected, people didn't know you were there, but obviously people within the patients within the cannabis community know that you're there as well. Recently, some raids happened in Quebec, and from what I'm seeing or had saw online, some people had to reach out to you guys all the way from Quebec, all the way out to BC.
Yeah, we've had well over 100 patients come from the Montreal Green Cross because they've been unable to find the types of products that they rely on. It's been frustrating. There's been the odd situation that we haven't been able to find the right products, and we've been putting new ones out there. The Montreal Green Cross got raided in December, and at the time they had over 40 kinds of suppositories on their website. At the time we only had 3. We're now up to 7 different kinds of suppositories, and I'm hoping to be able to expand that so we have both indica and sativa suppositories soon. Yeah, it's been a little overwhelming at times. A lot of these patients can barely speak English at all, so we've actually hired someone that speaks French as a first language in order to help with that, because it's been really telling, and we're going to use this as part of our evidence in the proceedings here in terms of the security of the persons issues that have become quite apparent, where we have people in French-speaking Canada that can't find the medicines that they require in the legal or illegal industry there, and they're reaching out not only to English-speaking Canada, but to like the farthest place in Canada from them, just about, to get medicines, and they're just extremely grateful that we are here, and scared that we're not going to be able to stand up and keep fighting, because they've already seen a club fail to do that. And so it is both really scary on one hand to see this happen, and to think how close we could be and have been to having to refer our patients to some other places. Thank goodness we're not in that boat for whatever reasons. But it really has validated the work that we do and made us feel even more proud that we're there for patients when very few others are. And so it's been intense. There's been they've got children with epilepsy who've had gotten referrals to the Green Cross from provincial government healthcare agents and things like, and they're still going after them, and it's just been really sad to see what's happened to that group, and I know there's still a lot of patients that are struggling to find medicines, because they're still contacting us after having tried for the last couple months to find other places, and then realizing that they do have to resort to coming here because there's so few options.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
that's
that's sad, but it does speak to your advocacy, though. It speaks to the need for establishments like yours, and how well you're trusted. I mean, you're nationwide. You were nationwide even before the Green Cross thing. You do have a website. You do supply patients across the nation, and then this thing happens in Quebec. Now you're not only nationwide, but you're multilingual. It's to see people, French Canada, migrating to the West for anything is phenomenal,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it really shows how desperate they are.
right.
That's
Now, yeah, and now
Yeah.
talking about access and patients, I got a tab here open on my computer. Your website has been shut down.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say just
Yeah.
yesterday
Yeah.
we got notice GoDaddy. Or was it yesterday or the day before? Maybe it was Monday. But GoDaddy got contacted by the Solicitor General, and they were forced to take down our website. So we're working on getting a new one up and running here. But that's been a pain too. Yeah.
Oh, I can just
So
imagine.
now the Solicitor General did this. So now obviously he's done this at the behest of what? I guess the Community
No, well, it's
Safety
the community
Unit.
safety unit, right? Like the same people. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
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 Yeah, the
CSU.
Community Safety Unit. They
Yeah,
seem to have an
they're under
awful lot of power.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's basically like the Solicitor General is the police force within the province, and this is part of their portfolio, which is really telling what they think about cannabis. Like this should be an economic portfolio. There are economic portfolios that have enforcement branches in them.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have to be, but they're not thinking about how to make this work economically. They're just thinking about how to police it and how to have really strict rules that they seem to barely enforce at times anyway. But they have not put any real effort into making economic industry here, to the point where the guy in charge of the cannabis secretariat, Jamie Lip, like no one even knew the guy's name until he put his name down on these fines. And I've had some reporters try and find out who he is, and it's like there's nothing on LinkedIn, there's nothing on Facebook or any other social media. It's like the guy has no public presence at all. And you'd think like the leader of the cannabis industry in British Columbia should be the most popular guy in this province. Everybody should know who he is.
Yeah.
He should be like out there in the public and talking about why they're doing things like they are to our club, but he's just hiding behind all this bureaucracy and paperwork instead of actually really like leading the charge here and making this industry work. They don't give a shit about the industry at all.
Yeah, it's I can shake my head for an hour and a half. It's just so wrong that they go after you is when they could instead work with you. Because obviously, you don't get support like you guys got if you were doing something that was dangerous to the community. It's just
That's right.
I wouldn't have gotten a store if I didn't want to cooperate with the government. I didn't get a store because I hate government and I'm scared of them and I don't want to pay taxes. Like we're paying taxes. I've tried to be as cooperative as I can and work in the best interest of the community. And our mayor and council have seen that very clearly, and a lot of our local politicians have seen me through that as well. And my work with council, a lot of Rob Fleming, who's our transport minister right now, was a city councillor for years and even knew me when he was on the board up at UVic at Students' Council. And so, it's been something where I've, been, very blessed at the support I've had in the community, but it makes it even more frustrating, to again see this just little pocket of bureaucrats, driving the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. It's just
For
not right.
sure. So you've gotten the fines. Run me down. What's the timeline on this? Like, do you have a certain amount of time to appeal these fines? What's the process and what's the timeline? I know that money has a lot to do with it and raising the funds for the lawyers. But putting that aside, what is the mandate for this kind of a
Okay.
timeline?
So we
to
have
get
till
things
next
going?
Friday to appeal, which we're going to do. And
Good.
from what I've understand from a few people, it is a couple months before they set a hearing date. But before that hearing date happens, we're going to be filing other applications in court, because we got to get that injunction in place before the hearing. Because if they have the hearing and win, then they have the power to come down heavy right away. And so we got to get that injunction up before the administrative hearing. So that's the
Good.
plan.
So now that's a different application. That's a separate application. Filing for the injunction is separate from the current action with the tickets then and the fines,
So
right?
there's actually three things that are going to be going on here. Yeah, the appeal to the fine, the injunction application, and the constitutional challenge.
And do you not also have an application to the government, the federal government, as far as trying to get some licensing to do what you're doing? Is there not something
We
that
have
you?
submitted a very comprehensive exemption application to Health Canada. I think it was over 700 pages by the time it was all done, including well over 300 letters of support from members of our club who have had their lives saved with their products and services. And so that's been before Health Canada now for almost a year. And it seems that it's just being put on the back shelf for the time being. And so that's been, not really unexpected, but, now we're going to use that evidence in our court proceedings to show that Health Canada is, basically being negligent and ignoring this, situation instead of dealing with it.
Yeah, it's just.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're a
it's
busy guy. You got a really full plate, man. Like there's a lot of plates spinning here.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a circus, maybe.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's not my first rodeo.
Yeah. I can just
No,
sort of
it's
see you, one in each hand, your foot's up in the air, and you got these little sticks in your hand and the plates are spinning on top and you're like, I got it. I
yeah.
got it.
You can see that. You can see that as a cartoon picture. As a drawing.
I
Head
was saying,
standing there on each tip.
No, we gotta get back on that. Somebody call back, and we gotta get Ted holding sticks with one foot up in the air, holding his third stick with his toes or something, and a whole bunch of spinning plates, man. Maybe pot leaves on all of them or something. Somebody call back.
Oh wow! What do you do? Well, it's we're obviously going to be watching what's going on as things develop and looking for your post, updating the community as you go along on this challenge, because it's something that people got to know about.
Well, thank you. Thanks for helping to
absolutely
keep it up, because this is something that affects us, and if we do our job right, it'll set a better course across the country as well. So
people are locally here. Kim and our watchers and listeners have heard the story many times, but we have cannabis retail prohibition in my town where we live. We're not allowed to have stores, and because they opted out, and it's they're just totally against cannabis altogether. It doesn't matter whether it's illicit cannabis, whether it's a compassion center, whether it's a store, whether it's patients. It's just, it's not right, and we're always being dealt a blow. So I always get upset when I see that patients are having to fight for their cannabis access, and this is another scenario of that. And it's if it wasn't for you, Ted, fight, and obviously patients access is right there at the top of everything that you're doing. And there's you and others that are there doing this, and it's great to see that you do that.
Yeah, I mean, every patient in this country, every non-patient consumer in this country that is consuming anything that is other than flower owes that legal consumption to the VCBC.
Yeah.
That's 100%. I mean, there's no question about that. I mean, if the Smith extract trial didn't happen, if Owen wasn't making those goodies for the VCBC, he wouldn't have been arrested. And if he wasn't arrested, we wouldn't have legal extracts right now. So we owe everything to the VCBC. That's right. I mean,
3-year-olds
any
should still be
cannabis
smoking
consumer.
joints.
That's right. Any cannabis consumer out there, whether you're recreational or medicinal, you owe what we have to the VCBC. And this is absolutely monumental what's going on with patient access, and patients can't be left dangling in the wind, and that's the focus of the VCBC still, even though everybody else mostly has moved over to the recreational element in this legalization scheme we've got going on here in this country. Ted, you've stayed dedicated to patients. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart from that, because we need more people like you that stayed dedicated to patients. Yes, we're not the majority anymore, because there's all kinds of cannabis consumers out there that are still patients and aren't bothering going the patient route. Because we have legalization, it's just easier for them to go to a store. Great. But you still owe that store in part to the VCBC and the push forward that you guys have done for the last 26 years. You mentioned briefly about fundraising, because obviously this challenge is going to be huge. It's going to be monumental, and it's going to be expensive. I would like to recap on the fundraising part and how people can help you that realize that we owe you a debt and are looking to contribute to your current situation to help repay that debt.
Thank you. Thank you for all that. So we're still getting the Bitcoin thing set up, but for now, people can write checks directly to Jack Lloyd Law Corporation, or send e-transfers to save the VCBC at gmail.com. I guess those are the two easiest ways for people to help right now.
All right, good to know, because what I'm going to do, Ted, is I'm going to take the audio from what you just spoke about on how to get a hold of, to help put something together to fundraise. So I'm going to take that audio. I'm going to put a little clip together to run here on the network to let people know that how they contribute to your to this journey.
Thank you both so much.
You're welcome. All right, shout out time.
Yeah, I mean, phenomenal. Shout out.
Okay, were you gonna say something there, Kim?
Oh wait,
go ahead, Ted.
No, go ahead.
Uh-oh. No, I don't even.
Okay, I'm thinking that maybe I might have jumped ahead of Kim. She might want to say something there before we.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
Right.
It's all good. It's all good. We're good.
Okay, shout out time then. Go ahead, Ted.
I didn't even think about this beforehand. I guess I'll just put a shout out to Royalty Rosin, one of the the companies that just contributed $1,000 to our legal defense fund. They make beautiful medicines, and we're going to start making some of our suppositories now. We use rosin in our suppositories, so they're solvent free.
Nice. Good. Anybody else? No. The club.
Pardon?
The club. A shout out to the club.
The club. Yeah.
Yeah. Kim?
Yeah, that's actually my shout out tonight. My shout out is going to the VCBC. Ted Smith, you're the head of the VCBC. You're the inspiration for it. You're the vision for it. You're the one that created this thing. The VCBC patients and staff, volunteers and helpers and supporters alike that are out there. What a fantastic group of people. Helping patients, that's the ultimate for me. That's the pivotal for me. That's been what I champion from the beginning. It's been about patients and patients' rights for me. And seeing you continue that gives me hope that our fight is not done and that we're not being left dangling in the wind. And I appreciate you. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
My quick little shout out is going to go to the people who we don't see, the people who help you along the way, who we don't talk to, because this is a journey that takes more than just one set of hands. There's going to be many hands involved in it. So, all right. Other than that, you can find the Pace Radio Network at paceradio.net. You'll be able to find all our podcasts, audio and video. We're all there. You can also find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. Where else can you find us? We're on other spots as well. It's just
everywhere.
Everywhere.
All
right. Thank you to our sponsors, Legacy 420, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Dr. Buck Cannabis Trimming Solutions, and Belleville BMA Hydroponics in Belleville. Ted, thank you for coming on the show and talking to us about what's going on and updating us on this situation.
Always a pleasure, folks. Always.
And Kim, as always, thanks.
Back at you.
And yeah, you can point to me now.
Kat says hello.
Oh, hi, Kat. How you
says
doing? And as always, a big thank you to our listeners and our watchers out there for tuning into the broadcast. We'll see you all next week. Until then, talk to you later.
Peace.
I blame it on industry.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.